All right. Yo, everyone. Welcome to the Red Road East. I am your host, Fierce Truth Seeker, and we will be starting very soon. Let me just take a brief look to see how many people we have in the house right now. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Got two people. All right. We'll wait for a few more to come in. All right. In the meantime, play some music. 1 second. Second. Yeah, I thought there would be more people tuning in. All right, we'll wait for some more to come in. Got three people. And for those who are watching, for those who are generous enough to leave a donation, I left information in the chat where you can leave a donation via PayPal and or Cash App. Okay, so don't go anywhere. Be right back. So we have four people watching now, and I think we can get started. Not gonna be long. I know I hadn't been doing a lot of posts recently, and I apologize for that. But as I explained in the last live that I did, the thing is that I had wait, hold on one second. Yeah, thing is that as I said before, I've had family and friends who have not been well that I had been trying to help out, who had health crises and stuff like that. Okay, so that's why, and it's still going on. I'm still helping family and friends with health issues and things of that nature. Okay, yeah. So let's see who we have in the house. We have the good brother Gerald Exposito. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining in. Okay, and so yeah, so I'll get right into the topic, and I'm not gonna hold you too long. Just wanted to share some information and want to discuss Luzia. So, as you all know, well, maybe not, you all know, but years ago, I was probably the first one in this community to talk about Luzia. And for those of y'all who are new to myself and the research that I've been doing over the years, and Firebird, my co host and godmother, we have been doing a lot of research over the years. And matter of fact, let me put on, I don't know how the audio is sounding. Let me put on this headphones just in case the audio isn't coming across too clear. Yeah, maybe that's better. Yeah, but yeah, myself and Firebird have been doing a lot of research over the years, and I remember back in the days, in the early 2000s, um, I was sharing information about Lucia, and a lot of people didn't know about Lucia back then, and so since that time, a lot of us were using Luzia and other archaeological finds as proofs of our claims and things of that nature. And since then, it seems that we've gained attention among certain circles, and the story has changed. And Lucia has received a facelift. Okay, Lucia has received a facelift. All right, and let me see if I can share the screen. Give me 1 second. share. Give me 1 second. Okay, why am I not seeing the share button on here? I see invite. That's supposed to allow you to share the screen. It's the first time I've done this and haven't been able to see the share option. What's going on here? Very interesting. Very, very interesting. StreamYard is slipping. Let me see. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to share the screen. Let me see. Maybe I have to change this. Uh, hmm. Change the layout. Give me 1 second, family. I want to share the screen. Wow. Very interesting. StreamYard has changed. I'm not able to share the screen. So, man, this is crazy. Since when? The last video that I did with y'all, I was able to share the screen. Now, there's no option to share the screen. Let me see. Maybe let me try to make this thing here bigger, maybe. Let's see. I don't understand this. Bear with me, y'all. Just gotta fix this technical issue. Hmm. Ah, man, I've never seen this happen before, and I can't show y'all any of the pictures in any of the documents that I wanted to share with y'all for whatever reason. All right, I'm gonna have to get another account with another streaming application. I don't know what's going on. Damn. Oh boy. Let me see. Having issues. Let me click on that. All right, let's see. Start chat. Okay, message. What happened to the share screen option? Start chat. Okay, let's see if they get back to me promptly. Customer support. Bear with me, y'all. Having a technical issue. I'm not able to share any documents. And join the chat. Okay, someone is getting back to me right now in the chat. They're typing right now. I can see they're typing. So just hold tight. This is unbelievable. It is under the presentation, the present button. Then press present, the present screen. Oh, okay. Okay, so it says it's under the present button. So let's see. Oh, okay, present screen. All right, okay. Looks like that's it. Okay, good. So we can share the screen. Okay, cool. All right, so we're good now, family. Okay, share screen. Sorry for the hold up, y'all. Okay, so let's see. Wait a minute. Cancel. I gotta look for it first. Okay. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm gonna find this document here. Luzia. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Download, I guess. Open file. Okay, that's one. And actually, this is the one. Okay. Two. All right, cool. All right, here we go. All right, now I'm gonna share the screen. Present, present screen, share screen. Okay. Window. Okay. Share. Okay. So this is Lucia, as you know. This is the original Lucia right here. All right. So before they were saying that Lucia resembles ancient peoples of Australia, Melanesia, and Africa. Okay. So now the story has changed. And now they are saying that the original peoples are more reflective of peoples from Asia. And they are now saying that before they were, see, before what happened was the Clovis theory had been debunked. So now they're saying they have evidence that Clovis is older, okay, and older than the finds more southernly, okay. or those finds in South America. So, with that evidence, Walter Neve has Walter Neves has changed his opinion. Okay, and they commissioned another lady. The original forensic artist was Richard Neve. Okay, and they've commissioned one of Richard Neve's students to do the facial reconstruction over. Okay, and so now this is the new model here on the right side that they're using. Okay, and you can see it over here towards the right next to Lucia, and you can see it in color right here to the extreme right. Okay, and I see we have a comment. Yeah, Red Owl Creation says Art and Penny plays the slots. Yeah, I was saying that from the beginning when I first heard this information. I was saying, yeah, they obviously were paid off to change their story. You know how they do. It's called intellectual somersaults, even though really there is no way to worm their way out of what they originally said. How do you go from the features being, because originally they said that Lucia's skull was anything but mongoloid, okay? And I'm using the term mongoloid not in a derogatory sense. I'm anthropologically speaking because that is what they refer to that phenotype as. And let me also, before we proceed any further, let me also say that I'm not trying to negate anyone's history, or downplay anyone's history here. All I'm doing is presenting the facts and the evidence and also defend our position. Okay. So it's not about anyone trying to put anyone down or minimize anyone's history, but at the same time, our story is being attacked, and I have to put things in its proper perspective because if you don't, then they just change the whole narrative, and a lot of people are going to believe the hype. And I must also say that until we field and train our own anthropologists, you have to take everything that they say with a grain of salt, you know, and you have to decode a lot of this information, and you have to come from many different angles, So when they flip the script, you got to be able to cross reference with other things. Okay. So, yeah, so let me X that out for now. Stop. Oh, I'll just stop sharing. Okay. See. Yeah. So, all right, let's see. We got another Let's see here. Another comment. He who controls the science controls the narrative. They have designed science to be ever changing. Yes, I say that all the time. I've been saying that for years. They change the science all the time, and this is why. Yeah, and when you read in my book, because I address all of this stuff in the book and also in the course that I was telling y'all about in the last live that Firebird and myself have put together. Okay, we address all of this stuff in the course. Okay, and also in my upcoming book. You know, um, all of this stuff is addressed, and yes, they are in control of the science. And again, you know, we have to bring up generations of our children to be things other than sports figures and rappers and entertainers, and bring up more people in science. Okay, I'm not knocking any of that stuff. You know, I love music. I'm you know, I love music. Okay, and music has been a big part of my life. For a great amount of years. That was my major in my first major in college was music. Okay, so I love music. You know, I love you know the entertainment industry, but we have to bring up our youth to be more, to aspire to be more than entertainers. Okay, until we do that, you'll always be at the mercy of them to create the narrative. Okay, so now let me share something else here. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I want to share another image. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Okay, so here are some other images here of skulls. The one to the left, that's Naia, who was older than Lucia. Okay, and in the middle is the first skull of the first European. Okay, and of course on the right is Luzia. Okay, now I also must mention that Luzia, along with about 100 other bones that Neves and his partner had collected over a period of 15 years, has had the misfortune of being destroyed in a fire in the museum. conveniently. Okay. And they say that Luzia managed to be one of the only ones that partially survived. Luzia was destroyed, but they were able to salvage 80% of her bones. Okay, about 80%, they say. All right, so conveniently, anytime, if you do your research, you'll find that anytime we have these proofs of original people throughout the world, you always have these mysterious fires that take place. Okay, these mysterious fires. All right, and so it won't be too soon that, mark my words, it won't be too soon that they're gonna do a facelift on Naia. Okay, don't be surprised. All right, don't be surprised. So let me stop sharing that one, and let's see here. Give me 1 second. Share something else here. Give me a minute, and I want to share document with you. Give me 1 second. So I want to show y'all why they are why they have to change the narrative. Just give me 1 second. Let's pull up a couple of documents here. Don't go anywhere. I'm just pulling up these documents because I don't like to talk. I like to show receipts. You know. Give me 1 second. I'm going. Matter of fact, we're gonna turn on some music. Don't go anywhere. I'm just pulling up some documents. So just hold tight. Give me 1 second. I'll be back in about 2 minutes. Okay, sorry for the wait. Sorry for the wait. So I just needed to take a break to pull up something here and looking for. Actually, right now I'm looking for a cartoon, an old car. Oh, here it is, right here. Okay, here it is. Okay, all right, here it is. Now I got it. Okay, cool. All right, good. I think I sent it. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Cool. Sorry about that. So now the reason why they had to change the story, okay, is because of the fact that when it comes to the phenotype, see that original that original image of Naia, I mean not Naia, Lucia, there's no denying, okay? And especially when they say, okay, an African phenotype. So they, again, we're not talking about the nationality, I'm talking about the phenotype. Okay. So, they say, all right, this is too much like, these Negroes. So we're gonna say, okay, Australian. You see, that's their cop out. They'll say, okay, yeah, they the first Americans look like Australians and Melanesians, people in the Pacific. Okay. And so, because of the fact that there are people such as myself and others who that doesn't fly with, because I know how the original Australians, Polynesians, Melanesians, Hawaiians, and those people in the Pacific look. Okay. And coming forward with that information and utilizing that information, they can't use that cop out anymore. So now, they're backtracking and backpedaling. Okay. So that's why they have to change the story. So show you some images, because there's a lot of you who don't know what the original Australians and people in the Pacific looked like, the original Hawaiians and stuff like that. Okay. So let me share the screen here. Give me 1 second. Let me share the screen. Oh, wait. Let me see. Let me go to the email here. Give me 1 second. Okay. download these images. Okay. Okay, now. Okay. So here's some images of Australian Aborigines. See, a lot of times what they do is they'll show you the modern people, but they don't show you that original stock. And even today, you still have Australians who have this original look. Okay, but they don't show you that in the media. Okay, they'll show you those who are mixed. Okay, but if you look, you can see that these are straight up um, aboriginals, dark skinned aboriginals, you know, and they don't all have straight hair either. Okay, now let me see, let me make it a little bigger. How's this coming across on the screen? Let's see. Can y'all see this good enough? Maybe I need to make it bigger. Let's see. Is that better? Let me make it a little bigger. Okay. All right. So you don't see these every day when they talk about Australians. You see what I'm saying? Now, here's another one. Let me share another. Oh, let me scroll up a little bit because y'all can see the ones about. Yeah, look at these faces. Look on the first row. You see, one of them has locks up here. Okay, see that coarse hair. But when they show you Australian Aborigines, they like to show you the blonde haired ones and the lighter skin mixed type. Okay, and they do this all over the world. You know, they do this all over the world. The media purposefully shows you images of hybrids, okay, or mixed bloods, but they never show you the pure bloods, the Aborigines in these various places. Okay, so look down here. Look at the second row. Okay, see different types. Look at the third one here. You know, look at that nose. Look at these noses. All right. Look at this one right here on the second row, all the way to the right. Okay. Why don't they show you these? Look down here at the bottom. Look at my man right here on the third row with his locks. Okay. I got some more images too. Give me 1 second. Share screen. Let's see. Oh wait. I thought I had put that one up. Okay. Cancel. Hold on. Let me X this out for now. Well, I'll leave it up. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Just pulling up images. Give me 1 second. I'm just sharing these images. Takes a second to get them on the screen. Thought I downloaded that. Where is it? PNG. Okay, open file. All right, there we go. Sorry for the delays. Takes a minute. Here's another image of some Australian Aborigines. Okay, look at that bushy hair. Some of them have, they have varying hair types. They have some that are curly, they have some that are straight, they have some that are straight up afros, you know. And particularly when you look at like the Tasmanians, what they've done is all over the world, you know, they've killed a lot of these people, you know, exterminate like the Tasmanians, you know, they just you know, pretty much exterminated them, you know. And I'm not going to say that they have exterminated them totally because we don't know. Because unless you're there, you don't know really what's going on because they're not going to report it. Just like here, they don't know that we're here. Okay. There are a lot of people around the world think that indigenous Americans are extinct. So who's to say that over there you don't have Tasmanians that are still around, you know? But according to what's recorded, they pretty much destroyed the Tasmanians. I'm going to show you some images here. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up. Give me 1 second. I'm just pulling these up. Okay, here it is. All right. So here's some images of some other Australian Aborigines. Okay, the Tasmanians. Okay, Tasmanian Aborigines, Australia. 3 rare photographs taken circa 1870. Okay, and you see the image here. Okay, look at that hair. Look at that bushy hair. Okay, why don't they show you these images? Okay, let me see if I can make this a little bigger on the screen. How do I do that? Let me see. How do I make this bigger? Y'all have to pardon me because, as I keep telling y'all, technology is not my area of expertise. But anyway, I'm not gonna waste time trying to make it bigger. But yeah, it says here Tasmanian Aborigines, Aboriginal name Potvala, Palavar, were the indigenous people of the island of Van Diemen's Land, Tasmania, Australia. They lived for thousands of years in the area, but when British colonization took place in 1805, disease was introduced. And this is what is thought to have been the major cause of the destruction of the full blooded people. By 1847, there were only about 47 left. The last full blooded Aborigine dying in 1876. Look at there. Look at these full blooded Aborigines. Look at that. This isn't the image of Australians that you're given in the movies. Okay? It's not. And in the media. Okay? So now we're seeing why they have to change the narrative in terms of them saying, okay, well, the first Americans didn't come from Australia and Melanesia and the Pacific Islands, okay? Because we have the goods, all right? Look at that. No mistaking about the identity of these people here, okay? Look at those features. No mistake. Can't make a mistake about that. You see? And they even, and see, in that story there, what I was just reading to you, that is a sanitized version of what happened to those people. When you study the history, they exterminated those people. Disease was just one factor. Okay, and they even degraded these people by who? How many of y'all? I know y'all are kind of young, but how many of you all are old enough to remember the cartoons, the Looney Tunes, when they used to show you the cartoon with the Tasmanian devil? How many of y'all are old enough to remember that? If you remember that, put a thumbs up or a one in the chat if you're old enough to remember that. Not too many of y'all. I know I'm dealing with a young audience here. Um, but yeah, back in the days, they used to have, the Looney Tune cartoons, and they would have the Tasmanian, what they call the Tasmanian devil. As a matter of fact, I'll show you. But that's how they do, they because you got to remember that that was an old reference to um dark skinned people, well they called us devils, you know they referred to us as devils. So that's another, and that's a I'm giving you some code words here. So when you see these things in history, you know who you're talking about. I'm showing y'all how to decode. When they say devils, you know you should know there's a very high possibility that they're talking about highly melanated people. Okay, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna share with y'all. Give me 1 second. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. And before this starts, I'm gonna play a video. I do not own the rights. I do not own the rights to this video.
The thing that's different about a verbal
Under fair use. This is for educational purposes only. Okay. I do not own the rights to this video under Fair Use Act. This is for educational purposes only. Okay, so give me 1 second. Let me share the screen.
Tonight we go on a rampage with the Tasmanian Devil.
Sit lively, mates. That there's a Tasmanian devil, the most vicious animal in the old blinking world. What's cooking?
The Tasmanian devil's on the loose! Run! Run! Run for your life!
The Tasmanian devil's on the loose! Run for your lives! Weigh anchor! Every man for himself! Oh, it's too bloomin' late. We're scuttled. What's up, Croc? Who you hiding from?
The Tasmanian devil's on the loose! Run! Run! Run for your life!
That weird thing back there gives me the creeps. Fortunately, he's been tranquilized.
Beware of the Tasmanian devil, a vicious, ravenous brute with powerful jaws like a steel trap. Eats aardvarks, ants, bears, boars, cats, bats, dogs, hogs, elephants, antelopes, pheasants, ferrets, giraffes, gazelles. A strong, murderous beast, jaws as powerful as a steel trap, has ravenous appetite, eats tigers, lions, elephants, buffaloes, donkeys, giraffes, octopuses, rhinoceroses, mooses, ducks,
Rabbits.
the Tasmanian devil is a powerful, vicious, evil-tempered brute. Hungry at all times, it will eat anything, but is especially fond of wild duck. Yes! Octopuses, penguins, people, warthogs, yaks, newts, walrus, gnu's, wildebeestes. What? No rabbits? Especially rabbits.
So you see, they named this animal the Tasmanian devil. You know, it's like a mockery. You know what I'm saying? And anyway, you know, we watched these Looney Tunes as children, and back then when I was a child, I never knew anything. I just thought it was a funny cartoon. Not knowing that there was an actual you know Tasmanian race of people that they just wiped out. You know, but anyway, so they had to change the narrative and do some backpedaling and somersaults. Okay, and I want to share something else. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second. Hold tight. No, I'm not going to share that yet. Let me see. Hold tight. I'm looking for. Just give me 1 second. I'm bringing up another document. Give me 1 second. So they always in anthropology they try to make it seem like the people called Australian Aborigines are not the same as us, who those of us who are of high melanation that have the, in other words, they'll say, all right, now, for lack of a better word, and just for clarity, for those who may be new to the channel, forget all the legalese and colorable terms. I'm just going to speak what a lot of people know. They try to say that okay, the Australian Aborigines are Negroid but not Negro, or not of the same stock of an Africoid phenotype, however you want to describe it. So that's why they use that argument. Okay. However, when you look at the artifacts and when you look at the people, it tells a different story. That doesn't lie. Okay. But they will try to tell you not to believe your lying eyes. Okay. And the people in Australia, they refer to themselves as quote unquote black. It's not my term, but this is the term that they use because they try to make it seem like they're not quote unquote black people. But the people in Australia refer to themselves as black. Okay. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about right here. Okay. Here's an article from The Guardian magazine. It says Australia is deplorably racist as people of color are reminded when they speak up. It says here, there's no question that Australia is a far more racist country than its political class like to admit. No amount of spin can be capable of disorienting hard facts sufficiently to obfuscate that reality. Yet, incredibly, I still receive abusive mail ridiculing me for jumping at shadows, protesting. It just ain't so. I understand how a certain amount of privilege in life provides a buffet to the kinds of racialized discrimination, prejudice, and hate speech that daily infects the lives of people of color in Australia. But surely by now, in the heavily media saturated environment we inhabit, claiming color blindness, whether in an Australia context or global society, isn't possible, yet such selective awareness persists. Undoubtedly, this party this is partly due to the filter bubbles created by the algorithms that shape the most pervasive media in each of our lives. In these safely curated backwaters, our social media news feeds, now always ready at hand, reinforce our preferred constructions of the world. Consuming context is self medication, a drip of personally homogenized feels to fix the anxiety of each participant user. For politicians, there is also the element of political expediency. Our prime ministers, for example, can put a cameo in up north, in a vulnerable Aboriginal community, while one or two of his ministers eagerly race bait against other marginalized at-risk peoples in the South. Apparently, this provides some weird kind of balance for government apologists. You can see it for yourself in their condescending rationalizations on Facebook and Twitter, should you choose to surf beyond the reef of your own social media echo chamber. Australia is deplorably racist. It was founded on a racist document and hasn't improved. For readers who have chosen not to follow this particular thread, that's the dilemma that's afflicted the nation for the past 6 or 7 years. Don't laugh. There are millions of Australians who have no idea and who have no idea about and zero interest in the Uluru Statement from the Heart and any of the work put in before it or since. Networks of them message me and other black pundits to momentarily assert themselves on the situation whenever we speak about racism. The recent surge in racism is not an anomaly. For many white liberal minded Australians, recent media contemporary com- recent media commentary over the appearance of a notorious white nationalist on the Sky News channel was the first indication that our society remains stricken by racism. And for many of them, the subsequent banning of said individual and the news channel's icing of the particular program on which he appeared is a sufficient practical and symbolic rejection of racism. For others, the concern is that it is too little, too late. The neo Nazi is out of the bag. By banning him from ever appearing on its channel again, Sky News has centered on normalized its regular hard right editorials. It doesn't matter, a jot of this was an intended and inadvertent consequence. But this incident isn't only a tile in the much larger colonial project that continues to impact the lives of not just First Nations people, but the majority of people of color in Australia. It's a racial ideology that's seemingly in perpetual motion in this country, which has been persistent since at least Federation and arguably further back with the arrival of the enlightened Europeans roughly 250 years ago. The recent surge in racism merely stems from this blight, and in terms of time span, it goes well beyond what occurred at Sky News last Sunday night. In the past fortnight alone, concerted attacks by Australian racists on media figures such as Osman, Osman Fartigi and Benjamin Law have caught my attention. I'm probably butchering that name. It's Fartigi or Fartugi. In Fartugi's case, the racialized and disproportionate abuse he received for supporting the banning of plastic bags from supermarkets has threatened to silence his activity on Twitter. Meanwhile, the racial abuse directed at Law involved a 30-level death threat for suggesting Virgin Australia cease broadcasting Sky News in their lounges. On Wednesday, to bring attention to the toxicity of the abuse being directed towards outspoken people of color, I tweeted a screenshot of an email from White Pride entitled, Fuck You. Oh, excuse my expression. If you have children, close their ears right now. I tweeted a screenshot of an email from White Pride entitled, Fuck You, Abo Dogs. That was sent to the administrators of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders online platform Indigenous X. Other established and emerging First Nations writers and commentators have informed me they have also experienced an upsurge of similar abuse in recent works. It should surprise nobody that the racists feel emboldened. If this kind of racial vilification reflects the current social environment, how is it possible for Aboriginal people to feel optimistic about a reconciled future in Australia, particularly when the kinds of attitudes consider us dirty black dogs are that consider us dirty black dogs are so valued by embattled Australian politicians every time a dicey election rolls around. Okay. And the article goes on and on and on. Well, actually, no, it's let me see. That's almost the end of the article. But I want to highlight that part right there. Okay. And he says, or she says, that they consider them dirty black dogs. That's how they're looked by the majority white society there in Australia. Dirty, well, at least I won't say the majority, but I'll say the neo Nazis. Okay, so if the people weren't considered quote unquote black, then why would they refer to them as such? Okay, let me stop sharing here. Give me 1 second. Okay, and I want to show y'all another article here as well. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'll be right with you. I'm just pulling up another article. This one, the other one. Give me 1 second. Let's see, one, two. Is it this one? No, I think it's this one. Yeah. Hold tight. I'm just letting this load up. Okay, yeah, it's this one. All right. Let me share the screen. Because, see, I don't like to just talk. I always like to produce receipts. Y'all know how I do. Okay, so I'm getting ready to show is an Australian woman who I think she lives in the States here. Okay. And she's telling you herself that the Australian people, these are her words, not mine. I don't, use the colorable term black, but she says that the Australian people are black people. Okay. She knows the history. Okay. And if anyone who studies the history know that they refer to themselves, other than their indigenous term, they refer to themselves as black people. Okay. There's no doubt or question about that. Okay. And so what happened in this particular article, she got a lot of flack for referring to herself as a quote unquote black person, um, due to the ignorance of people who don't know the history. Okay. So I'm going to share that article with you now. Okay. And this is from thedailymail.com. It says, fed up Australian Aboriginal woman calls out racist Americans for calling her Mexican and instead, I'm sorry, for calling her Mexican and insisting she's not black because of the shade of her skin. Okay. So it says here on the bullet points, it says a viral post by indigenous comedian Emily left some Americans confused. They thought she was pretending to be black when she was actually Mexican. Emily made the roadside clip to explain her Aboriginal Australian heritage. Doesn't matter how much milk you add to the tea, it's still going to be tea, she says. Okay. And so it says here, an indigenous Australian woman has taken to TikTok to issue a stinging rebuke to Americans who don't believe she's black and confuse her with being Mexican. Aboriginal comedian Emily, who posts under the name How Do I Delete One, made the short video after an earlier post went viral but attracted racist comments. This one goes out to all the Americans and even the racist Aussies who still don't have a effing clue, she says in the powerful video. I am not Mexican. I am Aboriginal Australian. That's what I am. Well, listen to her words. She says, "We," talking about the Australian Aborigines. She says, "We identify as black fellas. As black fellas, we also believe it's not the color of your skin that defines your blackness. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much milk you add to the tea, it's still going to be tea." Okay, and this is a picture of her here. Okay, let's just take a look there. She says, it says here in the article, the clip has been seen almost 300,000 times and came after another user left an inflammatory comment on a previous video Emily had posted. Just because your skin is brown doesn't make you, this is what they said about her. Just because your skin is brown doesn't make you black. It said, being Mexican and being black are two different things. Emily told her 67,000 followers, I know it's hard when videos kind of make it through the algorithm and they land on your news feeds. When you're American, you just assume everyone is in America, but apparently not. I hope this serves as a public service announcement until the end of time on my account. And here's a picture of her as a child. It says here the clip has seen some been seen some 300,000 times and came after another user left an inflammatory comment on a previous video. Emily, pictured as a child. Yeah. Clip comes after Daily Mail Australia yesterday revealed how US based Indigenous Australian singer Ashanta Eve Toley has also fought back against racists. Okay, so now here we have another Australian Aborigine here in America. Okay, um, she's an artist named Ashanta Eve Toley. Okay, and she says she took to it said in this, the article says she took to TikTok to reveal how she is bombarded with questions like if there are black people in Australia, if she's really Australian, and if she's wearing a wig. Ashanta, who is studying at the Berklee School of Music in Boston, Massachusetts, added, like, dude, really? Miss Tolley said the ignorance in America did not compare to the racism she experienced in her home country. In a Second video, responding to a question from a fan, the musician explained she could never live in Australia again because of the ill treatment she copped from compatriots. Unfortunately, I lived in several countries, Japan, South Korea, in the Middle East, and the US, and I have never been treated badly in any of those places except for Australia, Miss Tolley said. I actually had someone make ape noises at me one day when I was wearing traditional attire. I've had a teacher spit on me. I've been followed around in stores, received dirty looks when out in public, mainly from older white people. And this is the artist here. Okay. It says here, Australia has black people. Okay. Again, black is not my choice of words. This is what they're saying. These are the Australians talking. Okay. But what we're doing here is we're dismantling some of the mythology and the change of narrative, okay, because they're trying to worm their way out of that original story about Lucia, okay? They're trying their best because they let the cat out of the bag. Now they have to clean up, but it's really too late, you know. How do you go from Lucia being anything but mongoloid and resembling mostly people of Africa and Australia and Melanesia to them now not being that and resembling Asians? And we're going to dismantle that in a minute too. Okay. So, yeah, here she is here. Ashanta Toli, pictured, has revealed some of the uneducated remarks she cops from Americans. After her clip sparked debate, sparked debate among commenters, the performer issued a third video stating education was key to reducing ill-informed comments. Please understand that not everybody is educated and they don't know. They have genuine questions and they just want to learn, she said. If they are asking questions, be respectful and give them answers. If they are still rude after that, then they have no excuse for it. Miss Tolley, a Japtukai, I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that nationality. A Japtukai, um, Japukai, looks like Japukai, a Japukai woman, moved to the US when she was 13 and completed the 2019 Miss Global International Beauty pageant in the Philippines. She said she also received all sorts of dirty stares one time while street performing with the Aboriginal flag behind her. I love Australia, but I would never go back there to live, she said. This is her here. Okay. And as you can see, she is, you know, obviously lighter than those images of those pure blooded Australians. But one thing about a lot of the modern day um, Australian Aborigines, they're very proud of that ancient blood. And, they quickly say, hey, we are black people. And again, that's not my terminology. This is their terminology. Okay. But this is what they say. They're proud to be black. Okay. All right. So yeah, it's called dismantling the lies. See what I'm saying? Hey, shout out to my cousin. How you doing, Awanasa? Thanks for joining in. And yes, Awanasa, this is disgusting in this day and age. You know, will education remove the hatred in their hearts? Exactly. They've learned to hate since childhood, you know, and more than likely it won't, you know, more than likely it won't, realistically, you know. Um, and I wanted to also share, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I'm just giving you further proofs of, I don't like to just talk. I don't like to just talk. See, here we go here. All right. To show you again why they had to change the narrative of Lucia. Okay. And to change the story, you got to change it up because the cat is out the bag, because people like myself who've throughout the years been exposing this nonsense. Okay. They tried to use Australian Aborigine as a cop out, you know. They instead of, they don't want to say that the features are African, so they go to they say we'll throw them off with the Australian. Yeah, they don't know anything about that. Okay, so now we're showing you what the original Australians look like. And I'm also showing you all that who the Australians are. Okay, and the Australian Aborigines are our people. Okay, wait, hold on. What happened here? Sorry about that. Okay, so here's another article in Jacobin magazine. It says Black Power in White Australia. Okay, and I mean the title speaks for itself. All right, Black Power in White Australia. The movement for Aboriginal self determination has a rich history steeped in the internationalism of anti colonial struggles and black liberation movements throughout the world. We shouldn't ignore it. Okay, that's what it says here. Aboriginal people in Australia have been long fighting for their rights since the British flag was first raised over Sydney Cove in 1788 in the racial ferment of 60s Redfern in Sydney. The movement for self determination flourished. Fighting racist policy and attitudes at home, the movement was at the same time incorporating ideas from abroad, drawing on encounters with the Black Panther Party, African and Caribbean liberation movements, and indigenous struggles in North America. Okay, so, you know, I'm not going to read the whole article, but I'm just showing you beyond the shadow of a doubt who these people are. Okay, because they would like you to believe that the Australian Aborigines are some hybrid people, hybrid race, light skinned, straight haired, blonde haired, even though they do have those with those traits. Okay. Oh, Firebird is trying to come in. Oh, okay, let me see. It says device not connected. Try to come in again, Firebird. For some reason, there's some type of glitch. Your device won't let you in. Try it again. Yeah, could pass for us in America. Yeah, try to come in again, Firebird. Um, yeah, she's trying to come in, Awanasa. She's not in yet. She's having a issue with her phone there or computer, whichever one it is. But anyway, let me see. I also want to share. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Yeah, just pardon me 1 second. I'm trying to pull up something else here. Okay, let me see. Give me a minute. Is this it? Hold tight. I'm pulling up another document. Let's see. No, it's not that one. Check when it's not that one. Is it this one? Nope. Oh, wait a minute. Ah, here we go. Yeah. Okay, let me see if Firebird's trying to come in. Okay, while we're waiting on Firebird to come in, I'm going to read this other article, share this other article with y'all. This one It's entitled "The Black Social History." The Black Social History. Okay. The Black Social History, Aborigine Slavery in Australia. Settlers in the new colony of Australia were desperate for labor, and early settlers relied on conceived and neglected children, their own and other people. From 1870s, Aboriginal children were widely employed in a complex web of contract and apprenticeship law in the pastoral and pearling industries in the Northwest, often kidnapped by blackbirders. These children received no wages and had no opportunity to attend school. Settlers, servants, and slaves also show how concern over the problem of children of mixed descent of the 19th century was to provide the rationale for the infamous 20th century solution, namely the forced removal of indigenous children and their parents and the establishment of aboriginal reserves. Okay, you can see some of these images here. Let's see. Oh, I thought that would make it bigger. Let me see. Let's make it bigger. Ah, I guess not. Okay, well, that's about as big as it's going to get. Some other pictures. Australia Day. Yes, let's liberate invasion, murder, rape, theft. See, look here. No mistake on the features there. Okay, no mistake. What they did was, you know, they raped and intermixed with these women, you know, and produced lighter offspring. Same thing that they did here in the Americas. Don't think that, okay, it's the same phenomenon, okay? The same thing happened in America, okay? In the Americas, all right? You had the same thing, a dark skinned Aboriginal people here in the Americas, just like in Australia and in Hawaii, and the same thing happened, you know? They intermixed, raped, you know, and produced mulatto offspring. Okay, that's just the reality of it. That's not to diminish anyone's system. That's just a fact. Okay, and they've done this all over the world. Look at Hawaii. Okay, you get the same thing in Hawaii. You see the same phenomenon in Hawaii. Look at the Royal Hawaiians. Okay, they look just like so-called black people in America. Okay, then later on, okay, you had waves of Asians that came in and Europeans that mixed in with the population, and the population became a mulatto, a fixed mulatto type, racial type. Okay, the same thing happened here. Okay, you had that original Negroid stock here, Negroid, Negro, Africoid stock here, African phenotype, Melanesian, all of that stuff. You had that here, okay? And then you had waves of migrations that came from Asia, Europe, you know, and mixed in with the population and produced a lighter skinned people, a hybrid type of people. Okay, that's just the reality of it. Okay, look at these purebloods here. Okay, and since there's more information coming out showing you that these people in the Pacific, who were realistically the descendants of Mu or Lemuria, okay, which is why you know we describe them as a Moorish people, Moorish people, okay, they have to change the story now. See these images? I wish I could make these bigger, but if you can see, these are straight up what they call like Negroes, black folk, what they call. See? I wish I could make these bigger for you, but look, I mean, there's no doubt or question. Okay, y'all see this? Am I losing anybody right now? Is this too much for y'all? Let me know in the chat if this is too overwhelming for y'all. I'll stop sharing these images. You know, this is too much. Just let me know. I don't want to be talking over your heads. I don't want to, offend anybody. If I'm offending you, you know, let me know. See, look here. Is this too much for y'all? I know these images are probably hurting some of you all right now. I have to check in the chat to see if Firebird came back yet. If you have come back, Firebird, just hold tight for a second. Well, let me look. Well, let me get through these images first. Okay? I know this may be hurting some people. Look at these images. Okay? Look at here. Okay? Looks straight up like African pygmies right there, so-called pygmies or twa. Look at that. Okay? And this information gets deeper now. It gets deeper. I'm just sharing a little bit with y'all. Again, Firebird and I have a class, where we decode a lot of this information. But again, like I said in the last live that I did, we wanted to start the classes after the parade in August. I mean, I keep saying August. Why do I keep saying August? After the parade on October 15th. But I know that around that time, a lot of y'all are going to be emptying your bank accounts and are going to spend up all of your last money that you have in your life savings for so-called Thanksgiving and Black Friday. And then after that, Christmas. Okay. And many of y'all are going to rush to the mall to sit in Santa's lap. Okay. And then when the so-called New Year comes, y'all are going to spend up your money partying on New Year's, going to see the ball drop at Times Square and all that other stuff that y'all do. So realistically, we're not going to be able to do the classes this year unless enough people show interest. But if not, it'll realistically have to be next year around February time. For these images, man. I mean, I mean, there's no doubt and no question. I mean, no doubt, no question. No doubt, no question. Oh, you know, no doubt, no question. All of the history you've been given has been whitewashed. Okay, that's what you have to realize and recognize, and you have to be deprogrammed. Look at that. Look, man. Look. Okay, so by now there should be no question. Look at that. Look at that. Straight up afros. Straight up afros. Look at that. Come on now. Okay, they have to change the Luzia story. Okay, they have to. Okay, and what I also know is that there has also been a lot of pressure from even some tribal people. Well, I don't know if they're actually tribal people, but some who are of the uh, Asian persuasion among the, choosing my words very carefully, those who claim tribal descent here, who are of the more Asian persuasion, who have come at Walter Neves, and some of these anthropologists, you know. So I'm sure there was, pressure coming from that angle that weighed into them changing their narrative, the narrative of Luzia. Again, I'm not trying to minimize anyone's history. I'm not even saying that. So, oh, here, Firebird is here. Okay. I'm not even saying that those who are of the Asian persuasion are do not have Aboriginal ties to the land. I'm not saying that either. But what I am saying is that we have to defend our position, okay, and tell our story, the untold story, okay? That's what I'm saying. Because they want to flip the script, okay? Firebird, hey, how you doing?
Hey, how you
Finally got here.
doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I know you wanted to weigh in on this topic too.
Yeah, I did kind of. At this point, um, I'm a little disgusted. how they're flipping the narrative, and you know, it's just amazing how people who are supposed to be leaders in these fields, they're scripting and rearranging all types of nonsense. So
Yeah.
I pulled up something, and maybe someone in the audience can answer this for me. Um, how do anthropologists determine the race of a skeleton? Okay. And the answer is forensic anthropologists determine the ancestry of a skeleton by examining the morphology or shape of the skull and by taking measurements of the skull vault, which is cavity, and face. By comparing these results with data from populations worldwide, scientists can evaluate that individual's relationship to a world group. So, how did Lucia features change so drastically?
Ah,
How is that done? Can anyone explain to me? They're the masters of this science, anthropology. They say they are. So how now that she's changed? I mean, if her features were set, how are they now different? Can
yeah, it's
anyone
called.
answer that? I mean, the shape of the skull, it says, the measurements, the skull vault cavity, and face. So how has her face changed? Okay, a relationship to a world group. Now she belongs to another group.
Ah,
This is in print. This is in print. This is in print.
it's called intellectual somersaults.
This is in print. Okay,
Woo.
this is in print.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm,
this is
mm,
in print
mm.
from Natural History Education.
Yep.
Can anyone help me with this philosophy?
I can tell you what they're saying. Um, Let me pull up another article here. Let's
Unbelievable.
see. Woo.
So, who's ever going to a museum again?
You know,
Who's ever going to take anthropology courses again by their standards?
exactly. Exactly.
I mean, it's right there. It lays it out. So,
Mm-hmm.
who's the brilliant person that just rewrote anthropology?
Exactly.
I mean, I could have pulled up a lot of videos, but here it is in print, that you can Google yourself and have less of a headache watching videos at this point because you don't know what to believe, not to believe. And we know it's discrediting us. That's all it's doing.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. So here's what they're saying. It says here the new face of Luisa and the Lagoa Santa people. by Peter Moon. Says here the history of the peopling of the Americas had just been interpreted afresh. The largest and most comprehensive study ever conducted on the basis of fossil DNA extracted from ancient human remains found on the continent has confirmed the existence of a single ancestral population for all Amerindian ethnic groups, past and present. Over 17,000 years ago, this original continent, I'm sorry, no, this original contingent crossed the Bering Strait from Siberia to Alaska and began peopling the New World. Fossil DNA shows an affinity between this migratory current and the populations of Siberia and northern China. Contrary to the traditional theory, I had no link. Wait a minute. Yeah, contrary to the traditional theory, it had no link to Africa or Australia. The new study also reveals that once they had settled in North America, the descendants of this ancestral migratory flow diversed into two lineages some 16,000 years ago. The members of one lineage crossed the Isthmus of Panama and peopled South America in three distinct consecutive waves. The first wave occurred between 15,000 and 11,000 years ago. The second took place at most 9,000 years ago. There are fossil DNA records from both migrations throughout South America. The third, the third wave is much more recent, but its influence is limited as it occurred 4,200 years ago. Its members settled in the central Andes. An article on the study has just been published in the journal Cell. A group of 72 researchers from 8 countries affiliated with the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil, Harvard University in the United States, and Max Planck Institute for the Science of Human History in Germany, among others. According to the researchers' finds, the lineage that made the north south journey between 16,000 and 15,000 years ago belonged to the Clovis culture, named for a group of archaeological sites excavated in the western US and dating from 13,000 to 11,000 years ago. The Clovis culture was so named when flint spearheads were found in the 1930s at a dig in Clovis, New Mexico. Clovis sites have been identified throughout the US and in Mexico and Central America. In North America, the Clovis people hunted Pleistocene megafauna such as giant sloth and mammoth. With the decline of the megafauna and its extinction 11,000 years ago, the Clovis culture eventually disappeared. Long before that, however, bands of hunter gatherers had traveled south to explore new hunting grounds. They ended up settling in Central America, as evidenced by 9,400-year-old human fossil DNA found in Belize and analyzed in the new study. At a later date, perhaps while pursuing herds of mastodons, Clovis hunter gatherers crossed the Isthmus of Panama and spread into South America, as evidenced by genetic records from burial sites in Brazil and Chile revealed now. This genetic evidence corroborates well known archaeological finds such as the Monteverde site in southern Chile, where humans butchered mastodons 14,800 years ago. Among the many known Clovis sites, the only burial site associated with Clovis tools is in Montana, where where the remains of a baby boy were found and dated to 12,600 years ago. DNA extracted from these bones has links to DNA from skeletons of people who lived between 10,000 and 9,000 years ago in caves near Lago, um, Lagoa Santa, minus Minas Gerais state in Brazil. In other words, the Lagoa Santa people were partial descendants of Clovis migrants from North America. From the genetic standpoint, the Lagoa Santa people are descendants from of the first Americans, said archaeologist Andre Andre Menezes Strauss, who coordinated the Brazilian part of the study. Strauss is affiliated with the University of Sao Paulo's Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology. Surprisingly, the members of this first lineage, I'm sorry, of this first lineage in South America left no identifiable descendants among today's Amerindians, he said. Some 9,000 years ago, their DNA disappears completely from the fossil samples and is replaced by DNA from the first migratory wave prior to the Clovis culture. All living Amerindians are descendants of this first wave. We don't yet know why the genetic stock of the Lagoa Santa people disappeared. One possible reason for the disappearance of DNA from the second migration is that it was diluted in the DNA of Amerindians who are descendants of the first wave and cannot be identified by existing methods of genetic analysis. According to Tabita Humeyer, a geneticist at the University of Sao Paulo's Bioscience Institute, who took part in the research, one of the main results of the study was the identification of Luzia's people as genetically related to the Clovis culture, which dismantles the idea of two biological components and the possibility that there were two migrations to the Americas, one with African traits and the other with Asian traits. Luzia's people must have resulted from a migratory wave originating in Beringia, she said, referring to the now submerging Bering land bridge that joined Siberia to Alaska during the glaciations when sea levels were lower. The molecular data population substitution in South America since 9,000 years ago, Luzia's people disappeared and were replaced by the Amerindians alive today, although both had a common origin in Beringia, Homimer said. Brazilian contribution. The Brazilian researchers' contribution to the study was fundamental. Among the 49 individuals from which fossil DNA was taken, seven skeletons dated to between 10,100 and 9,100 years ago came from Lapa do Santo, a rock shelter in Lagoa Santa. The seven skeletons, alongside dozens of others, were found and exhumed in successive archaeological campaigns at the site, led initially by Walter Neves, a physical anthropologist at IBUSB, and since 2011 by Strauss. The archaeological campaigns led by Neves between 2002 and 2008 were funded by FAPESP. Altogether, the new study investigated fossil DNA from 49 individuals found at 15 archaeological sites in Argentina. Two sites, 11 individuals dated between 8,900 and 6,000 years ago. Belize, one site, three individuals dated between 9,400 and 7,300 years ago. Brazil, four sites, 15 individuals dated between 10,000 and 1,000 years ago. Chile, three sites, five individuals dated to between 11,100 and 540 years ago. And Peru, seven sites, 15 individuals dated between 10,100 and 730 years ago. The Brazilian skeletons come from the archaeological sites of Lapa do Santo, seven individuals dated to about 9,600 years ago. Let me see here. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to see.
The national director of the Mazur Museum said that her face was closely associated with Negroid skulls. Where is he? Is he still alive? Have they murdered him or
Who?
the director of this institution, Museu Nacional? I think that's in Brazil. He said she looked more Negroid than the Asiatic skull.
What date?
She was found in,
What? No, I'm saying what year was he saying that?
okay, she was found in the 1970s. And let's see what he said. She was found in the Americas. Okay.
Which skull is he referring to?
Lucia.
Right, we know about that, but what I'm trying to find out is what year was he saying this?
They mentioned 2010.
Yeah,
They
cause see,
examined the skull in 2010. Researchers at Britain University of Manchester managed to produce a digital recreation of what Lucia may have looked like. Researchers have long debated the skull's origin. Some say her ancestors may have come from Southeast Asia, but the recreation of her skull actually revealed a face more closely associated with Negroid skulls, says this director of this museum. I want to know if he's still alive. Did they kill
right,
him?
but no, they probably didn't because that's what I'm reading now. So they've changed the story
Yeah,
now.
they changed the story.
Yeah.
But where is the man that witnessed all of this? Can we still find him? Can we get in contact with him?
Well, Walter Neves said the same thing. The guy that we're reading about now, but he changed. You know, they're backpedaling now. So listen what they're saying here. So what they're saying here is saying the Brazilian skeletons came from archaeological sites, Lapa do Santo. Seven individuals dated about 9,600 years ago. Jabult Cabrera II in Santa Catarina, Catarina State. Um,
Mm-mm.
a Sambaki or shell shell midden with five individuals dated to about 2,000 years ago, as well as two from river middens in the Ribeira Valley, Sao Paulo State, and Laranjal, two individuals dated to about 6,700 years ago, and Marius, one individual dated about 5,800 years ago. Um,
Mm-mm.
Paolo Antonio Dantas de Blasis, an archaeologist affiliated with, and pardon me, I know I'm butchering some of these words, but the font is too small for me to really read, and I don't know how to enlarge this font, so that's why I'm butchering some of these names. And archaeologists affiliated with MAEUSP led the dig at Jabal Cabrera II, which was also supported by FAPESP through a thematic project. The digs at the River Midden sites in Sao Paulo State were led by Levi
Mm-mm.
Agudi, also an archaeologist at MAEUSP, were also supported by FAPESP. The Marias skeleton, 5,800 years old, and the Laranjal skeleton, 6,700 years old, are among the most ancient from South and Southeast Brazil, Figuti said. These locations are strategically unique because they're between the highlands of the Atlantic Plateau and the coastal plain, contributing significantly to our understanding of how the southeast of Brazil was peopled. The skeletons were found between 2000 and 2005. From the start, they present a complex mixture of coastal and inland cultural traits, and the results of their analysis generally varied, except in the case of one skeleton diagnosed as Paleo Indian. Analysis of its DNA is not yet complete. The study that's just been published represents a major step forward in archaeological research, exponentially increasing what we knew until only a few years ago about the archaeogenetics of the peopling of the Americas. Hunemeyer has also recently made a significant contribution to the reconstruction of human history in South America using paleogenomics, Amerindian genetics. Not all
Mm-mm.
the human remains found at some of the most recent archaeological sites in Central and South America belong to genetic descendants of the Clovis culture. And the inhabitants of several sites did not have Clovis associated DNA. This shows that besides its genetic contribution, the
Mm-mm.
second migration wave to South America, which was Clovis associated, may also have brought with it technological principles that would be expressed in the famous fishtail points that are found in many parts of South America, Strauss said. How many human migrations from Asia came to the Americas and came to the Americas at the end of the Ice Age,
Mm-mm.
more than 16,000 years ago, was hitherto unknown. The traditional theory, formulated in the 1980s by Neves and other researchers, was that the first wave had African traits or traits similar to those of the Australian Aboriginals. The well known forensic facial reconstruction of Lucia was performed in accordance with this theory. Luzia is the name given to the I'm sorry, was the name given to the fossil skull of a woman who lived in Lagoa Santa region 12,500 years ago and is sometimes referred to as the first Brazilian. The busts of Luzia with African features was built on the basis of the skull's morphology by British anatomical artist Richard Neve in the 1990s. However, skull shape isn't, listen what they're saying. However, skull shape isn't a reliable marker of ancestrally or geographic, I'm sorry, of ancestrality or geographic origin. Hold on. Of ancestrality or geographic origin. Genetics is the best basis for this type of inference, Strauss explained. The genetic results of the new study show categorically that there was no significant connection between the Lagoa Santa people and groups from Africa or Australia. So the hypothesis that Luzia's people derived from a migratory wave prior to the ancestors of today's Amerindians have been disproved. On the contrary, the DNA shows that Luzia's people were entirely Amerindian. A new bust has replaced Luzia in the Brazilian scientific pantheon. Caroline Wilkinson, a forensic anthropologist at Liverpool John Moores University in the UK, and a disciple of Neve, has produced a facial reconstruction of one of the individuals exhumed at Lapa do Santo. The reconstruction has the reconstruction was based on a retro deformed digital model of the skull. Accustomed as we are to the traditional facial reconstruction of Lucia with strongly African features, this new facial reconstruction reflects the physiognomy of the first inhabitants of Brazil far more accurately, displaying the generalized and indistinct features from which the great Amerindian diversity was established over thousands of years ago. The study, published in Cell, he added, also presents the first genetic data on Brazilian coastal sambuquis. The monumental shell mounds were built some 200 years ago by by populous societies that lived on the coast of Brazil. Analysis of fossil DNA from shell mound burials in Santa Catarina and Sao Paulo shows these groups were genetically akin to the Amerindians alive today in the south of Brazil, especially the Kangang groups, he said. According to Strauss, DNA extraction from fossils is technically very challenging, especially if the material was found at a site with a tropical climate. For almost 2 decades, extreme fragmentation and significant contamination prevented different research groups from successfully extracting genetic material from the bones found at Lagoa Santa. This has now been done thanks to methodological advances developed by the Max Planck Institute. As Strauss enthusiastically explained, much more remains to be discovered. Construction of Brazil's first archaeogenetic laboratory is scheduled to begin in 2019, thanks to a partnership between the University of Sao Paulo's Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology and its Bioscience Institute with funding from FAPSP. When it's ready, it will give a new thrust to research on the peopling of South America and Brazil. To some extent, this study not only changes what we know about how the region was populated, the region was peopled, but also changes considerably how we study human skeletal remains, Fugel said, Fuguli said. Human remains were first found in Lagoa Santa in 1844 when Danish naturalist Peter Wilhelm Lund in 18 Wilhelm Lund from 1801 to 1880 discovered some 30 skeletons deep in a flooded cave. Almost all these fossils are now at the Museum of Natural History at the I'm sorry of the Natural History Museum at Denmark in Copenhagen. A single skull has stayed in Brazil. It was donated by Lund to the Brazilian History and Geography Institute in Rio de Janeiro. Colonization by leaps and bounds. On the same day as the Cell article was published, November 8th, 2018, a paper in the journal Science also reported new findings on fossil DNA from the first migrants to the Americas. Among the 15 ancient skeletons from which genetic material was taken, 5 belong to the Lund collection in Copenhagen. They date from between 10,400 and 9,800 years ago. They are the oldest in the sample, alongside an individual from Nevada, estimated to be 10,700 years old. The first sample comprised fossilized human remains from Alaska, Canada, Brazil, Chile, and Argentina. The results of its molecular analysis suggested the peopling of the Americas by first human groups out of Alaska did not come about merely through gradual occupation of territory concom- um, concomitantarily with population growth. According to the researchers responsible for the study, the molecular data suggests that Alaska, the first humans to invade Alaska or neighboring Yukon split into two groups. This happened between 17,500 and 14,600 years ago. One group colonized North and Central America, the other South America. The peopling of the Americas ensued by leaps and bounds as small bands of hunter gatherers traveled far and wide to settle in new areas until they reached Tierra del Fuego in a movement lasting one or at least 2 millennia. Among the 15 individuals whose DNA was analyzed, 3 of the Lagoa Santa 5 were found to have some genetic material from Australasia, Australasia, as suggested by the theory proposed by Neves for the occupation of South America. The researchers were unable to explain the origin of this Australasian DNA or how it ended up in only a few of the Lagoa Santa people. The fact that the genomic signature of Australasia, of Australasia has been present for 10,400 years in Brazil, but is absent in all the genomes tested to date, which are still as old or older and found farther north, is a challenge consuming is a challenge considering its presence in Lagoa Santa, they said. Other fossils collected during the 20th century include the Luzia skull found in the 1970s. Almost 100 skulls excavated by Neves and Strauss in the past 15 years are now held at USP. A similar number of skulls are held at the Pond at the Pontifical. I can't see this word. Pontifical Catholic University in Minas Gerais. Yeah, this is font is real small. Um, so I'm probably butchering that word. So he says, but the vast majority of these osteological and archaeological treasures belonging to perhaps more than 100 individuals were deposited at the National Museum in Rio de Janeiro and were presumably destroyed in the fire that raged through this this historic building on September 2nd, 2018. The Luzia skull was on display at the National Museum alongside Neve's facial reconstruction. Scientists have feared it had been lost to the fire, but fortunately, it was one of the first objects to be recovered from the ruins. It had broken up but survived. The fire destroyed the original facial reconstruction, of which there were several copies. And that's that. Yeah. You there, Firebird? Oh, Firebird dropped off. Yeah, Awanasa says, yeah, they're gatekeepers. Yeah. Somebody's lying. Yeah. The Mandela effect. Yeah. Yep. Yep. That's true, Awanasa. They have to keep the narrative going by any means necessary. It's true. It's true. And also, yeah, the new code says, yeah, the Mandela effect exactly. You know, unbelievable. But the whole thing is that now they're running with the Bering Strait. They're saying that the peoples coming via the Bering Strait is older. So they're running with the Asia model now. They're saying that um, the archaeological studies are showing that the first Americans more resemble, instead of Australia and Africa, more resemble people in Asia. Okay. But you can't get away that easily. Not with the fierce truth seeker. I'm sorry. Okay. It doesn't happen that easily. I'm going to share some more information. Or should I just do a part two? Yeah, it's getting late. I'm getting hungry now. So what I'm gonna do, we're gonna do a part two to this discussion, and we're going to bring out some more evidence to bust up some of this backpedaling that they're doing. Okay, and I hope y'all enjoyed what you've seen thus far, but I've got more. They can't get away that easily. You can't backpedal. It's the cat's already out of the bag. You know, it's like when you tell a lie, you have to scramble to clean up. You know, uh, all the evidence. From before. Okay, and yeah, we'll do a part two maybe on Friday or Saturday. Yeah, maybe on Friday or Saturday. Okay. And so I'm glad that y'all enjoyed the presentation. And thanks for all of those who gave a thumbs up. And also I left in the chat for those who are generous enough to leave a donation. I left information in the chat um, for those who can leave a donation. I left PayPal and Cash App information for those who care to leave a donation. You can leave a donation via PayPal or Cash App. And if you look all the way to the top of the chat, the very first, all the way at the top, I left the information there. Okay. So, on that note, I guess I will sign out. Yeah. Oh, it's no longer in the chat? Let me see. Let me scroll all the way up. It's there. I'm looking at it right now. It's right under the duck that says StreamYard. I can redo it. Let me see if you can't see it. Or I can show it. Yeah. Let me see. Oh wait, I'm bugging. I'm leaving. Here it is right here. So I reposted it there. For those who are kind enough to leave a donation, that's the PayPal and Cash App information. Oh, and I can't forget to acknowledge a good friend of mine who recently passed away. Okay. He was well known in the community in Harlem, one of the vendors, and someone who was on the lecture scene back in the days. Good brother Azariah Bey. Well, we know him as Brother Azariah, but he also went as Azazel Bey. Okay, he was a Moorish metaphysician. Has been on the scene a long time. We go way back, and the brother passed away a few weeks ago, and I just want to let those who do are familiar with Brother Azariah's work to know that he passed away. 125th Street definitely will not be the same without this brother. And so I just wanted to take a moment of silence to acknowledge Brother Azariah, as others know him as Azazel Bey. Take a moment of silence. Yeah, rest in power, Brother Azazel Bey, Brother Azariah. Yeah, so um, I know that um, his queen or his ex has put up a GoFundMe for him on Facebook, and she, you can look her up on Facebook. Her name is Majade Majade Bey. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. Majade Bey. Check her out on Facebook. She's put up a GoFundMe for the family and everything. I know he had children, you know, um, and help them out, things of that nature. I don't know if they had the adequate funds, and stuff like that to give a proper burial or not. I'm not sure, but yeah, you know, sad to see that that brother's not with us. He put in a lot of work over the years, but yeah, so we will continue this discussion, and we have, again, see, I attack this stuff from many different angles, you know, so you don't just rely on one source. So we'll get into some other information on the next show. Okay. So I want to thank all of those who joined today for this live. And also, don't forget, October 15th is the first annual Indigenous Peoples Day Parade here in New York. Come out and make history. Okay. And this is Firebird's brainchild. She's the visionary and coordinator of this parade, and she has been trying to get this to manifest for decades, and it's finally come to fruition. Okay, so October 15th, we'll do another show talking about the parade. We'll do a few shows leading up to the parade. Okay, so until the next time, family, I'm gonna say, Doda da Gohan E.